There are a couple of other things in your board packet that fall into that category of sharing. There's a sheet that looks like this one that has the shared expenses that were exchanged between the two districts. It says ESAC County School shared expense summary first semester of 2008-9. Things that are listed are shared administration payroll, the shared certified teacher payroll by contract. And that does, the shared administration payroll does include all shared staff, so it's not just full grade sharing grades, but it would be the elementary principal and the superintendent, as well as the rest of the shared administrative staff. Under shared support payroll, it would be any secretaries or teacher associates, any classified staff who are part of the sharing agreement. That fourth line is the 512 shared expenses, so that would be supplies and materials that it takes to run or operate shared programs in 5th grade through 12th grade. And you see what those totals look like. So SAC would pay Wall Lakeview Auburn $491,331, and Wall Lakeview Auburn would pay SAC a little over about $406,000. You can see the enrollment from line 7 of the certified enrollment for SAC is 432.3. Wall Lakeview Auburn's line 7 is 506.8, so it's a 46%, 54% split. I think it's last year we were at 54.6 or 54.4. I'm looking at Frank. 54.4 and maybe 46.6 for the splits, but so for total student numbers of 939.1. That's not the total numbers of kids that we educate, but it's the total number of kids on that line 7 certified enrollment, and that was agreed upon in our whole grade sharing agreement. Any comments or questions? Last year you got something that looked about like this, so that shouldn't be unfamiliar to you.
Can you do this twice a year?
Yeah. If you go to the shared activity expenses, the one thing, Shirley, I am going to talk about, today when you came in and we reviewed these two documents, the other document is the shared activity expense sheet. John and I told you that the activity sharing expense sheet does not include coaches, but this sheet also did not include fall sport coaches. So we told you that it was. We went back and looked, and that was not included in here. So okay, that will be in that next exchange of dollars then. Okay. So the shared activity expenses, and you can take a look at last summer's activities: baseball, softball, football, and volleyball, concession stand. If you look at those dollar amounts for concession stands, it took about 3 times for John Kraft to explain this to me about why those numbers are exactly the same for revenue and expense. But what's related to baseball concessions and softball concessions is that revenue goes back into those programs. So if, for instance, the revenue was $4,671.43 for baseball concession stand, and we bought, he gave me this example, $2,300 worth of food for expense. We'd take that $4,671 and we'd subtract the revenue for food, for the expense for food, and that would show up on the expense side. But we would also call an expense the remaining balance of money, because that goes back into the fund. It's a net out for the concession stand itself, but it goes back into the baseball program. So if we use that $4,671, we spent $2,300 on food. These are just examples. What would be remaining is $2,371. Then that's an expense. The check's written as an expense to the actual baseball program for that remaining difference. So that's why those numbers are the same. And why one says 43 cents and the other says 00, I don't know. I can't tell you that. And if you take a look, the difference between Wall Lakeview Auburn paying to SAC $22,039.41 and SAC paying to Wall Lakeview Auburn $20,705. So not quite $2,000 difference between what the two districts owe each other in expenses for the activity program.
We had expenses, or we had split softball and baseball seasons, correct, last year?
Yep, yep.
How-
Split meaning, split between the sites.
Right.
Yep.
I guess my question is then, we have no expenses for softball at SAC, no revenue for softball at SAC. Basically baseball, and then you look at the other ones, that doesn't seem to make sense to me.
I can't answer that exactly, but I know that because those are high school programs, it all runs through the high school activity accounting, and that would be at Wall Lake View Auburn. And that's simply because those are high school activities, and that's where all the or generally all the revenue and part of, I'd say 80% of the expense takes place. Versus SAC, and I can't tell you for basketball's not on here. I won't even.
Yeah,
That's all I would know about it.
Okay, how about when does basketball and when does track get put on this kind of sheet that we can look at?
Basketball, wrestling, and track, yes, will be on that next sheet. So I'd say August, somewhere here. And maybe we'll wait till the end of baseball, softball and put those on. Because this was the first year in whole grade sharing that we exchanged these expenses for all the activities. The two secretaries that handle the activity expenses are Jennifer for the middle school here and Linda Schultz at the high school. Linda Schultz is me, actually. So if you've got questions or you need to let me know, I can get to you with those scales.